Hello, and welcome to the Pulse of Jonesboro. I am Jeremy Terrell, and I am your host. And thanks for tuning in this week. It is a great week. It's a special week. It is Thanksgiving week, and I hope everybody has or is having or had a wonderful Thanksgiving. It is a great time to spend with family and friends, and just think about the ways that you can give to others. It's a great reminder for the soul to, in many ways, it's one of my favorite holidays. Biggest reason is because we always have a big Thanksgiving meal, and we have tons of family over and tons of friends over, and usually it's a great big, wonderful eating fest. But it's a great time to just get together and spend with family and friends. So we do a lot of that each and every year. So I'm super excited, and I hope everybody has a great, wonderful week. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about, you guys have heard me in several different episodes. We talk about, the economics of Jonesboro. We talk about the way we're spending our money and the way that we are doing things, whether they are going right or wrong. And you guys, for the most part, know my belief on where we're failing and where we're succeeding. And really, this episode is just to bring some understanding of why Jeremy gets upset about trails and why I get upset about, and I say upset, I don't really get upset. I just bring it to the attention, and I want you guys to understand why. So in a lot of our research, when it comes to like the sidewalks and the trails, you guys have heard me say there's successful places in the United States and there's not successful places in the United States that have done this model. And I wanted to know why, so I really did a deep search into why some succeed and why some don't. And what I found was pretty interesting, and most of the people don't do this or understand it. And what I have found is that when you spend a ton of money on a trail system, sidewalks, we call it a trail system. It's just big, massive sidewalks. I think there will be some trail aspect to it, but we're spending a ton of money on sidewalks. And the terminology behind it is connectivity and easy travel and so forth and so on. So, and again, you guys know I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day, and we were having lunch, and it was funny. Very outdoorsy person, runs, health guy, and we were talking about the trails, and he said, "Jeremy, I know how you feel." He's like, and I agree and I disagree. He says, "I agree on a couple of the things that you talk about," and he says, "and I disagree because, man, it's not really a disagreement. It's just, I know you're right, and I wish you were wrong." And there's nothing wrong with trying something. I'm all for that. Like a city, we do need to try things and hope that they stick and it makes a difference. But what we're doing with the sidewalks is kind of crazy, and this is why. And everywhere where sidewalks have succeeded, they actually drove revenue. So people came to walk on the trails from out of town. People came to get outdoors and experience, whatever it is that along the trail provides. Case in point, you go to Fayetteville. My wife goes up there. She's got family. She goes up there quite a bit, and they go on these trails. Well, they can stop and have ice cream. They can stop and have coffee. They can stop and have lunch, and they can stop and have there's a lot of stopping that they can do. And so the trails are beautiful, number one. And then two, you have all of this revenue, this ability to gain revenue from it. So it draws people into a location, and then there's things there to do that cost money and so forth and so on. And so it elevates those companies that are there, and it's prosperous to have these trails. It's good for the economy. It's good for the patrons. It's a win-win. Where it doesn't succeed is when you don't have any of that. So you just put in these trails and to nowhere, and they're just sidewalks basically through neighborhoods or whatever. And they don't bring any revenue source or provide anything different than a normal sidewalk would do. So, and that's what we have. We have sidewalks, basically just really, really wide sidewalks. So, this is why I get so aggravated, because it's like everybody that signed off on this should have went and done their research on these sidewalks. We've put in 20 miles, I think it was, or 30 miles, somewhere in there, 20 miles of these sidewalks. And somebody should have done their research and said, wait a minute, what are these going to provide? Now, that same friend and I, we were talking, and we're not a healthy community. It sucks, but it is what it is. Like, it's a bad thing to be a very unhealthy community, but it's not a bad thing that people around here don't want to walk. Like, we do have people that walk. We do have some things that happen, but those people were already doing that. These sidewalks didn't get anybody up off the couch and say, I'm going to get healthier. That didn't happen. Maybe it inspired one. I don't know. But nobody, I live around some of these sidewalks, and there's no difference. There's just no difference. Matthews, which didn't get a sidewalk, Jefferson did, but Matthews is a heavily populated walking road. Probably, I would say one of the most heavily populated walking road. But it didn't get any upgrades or any of that stuff. It would have been made all the sense in the world to put the sidewalk going down Matthews. It's already lit up more so than anything else, but that's not what happened. They put it down Jefferson. It just doesn't make any sense. None of the side roads where all the concrete's falling apart and the sidewalks are covered by grass, and none of that. It's just we put it down Jefferson. So I think I know why we put it down Jefferson. I believe we put it down Jefferson because it goes in between Native and the bookstore. So like if you go down Jefferson, you've got, your 50% to one of those two things. And that's all fine. I think the Native's doing great. I hope it succeeds. We haven't done anything more on G Street like we said we were going to do. But anyways, that's why it's on Jefferson, not Washington or Matthews, where it's heavily populated with foot traffic. But it doesn't bring any economic value, and it doesn't bring safety. There's nothing safe about sidewalks other than obviously you get off the road, but it has not made us safer as far as like robberies or crime or anything. And that's one of the statistics that were read when this all started. We also talked about, and you guys have heard me say this over and over again, but where we started these things. So if we would have started at Barrington Park, which is on Culver House, if you would have started there and headed towards Craighead, then people from Barrington probably would have walked and used the sidewalks to get to Craighead. But that didn't happen. I have a brother-in-law that lives in the next subdivision next to Barrington who's a runner. He absolutely 100% would have used that to go up to Craighead, run, and then come back on those. And but again, that That has not happened. Would have made all the sense in the world to start there, have a destination spot, and use it for exercising. Instead, we got them all going down towards downtown, and a few people walk downtown. There's people that use the sidewalks each and every day, but as a whole, it's not being. More people aren't walking because of our sidewalks, and they are not. It's not bringing any revenue into Jonesboro, zero. And Craft, they can say whatever they want to. Anybody can say whatever they want to. Go down to Craft right now, any part of the day, and there's nobody on Craft. No bikes, no sidewalkers, nothing, other than maybe the people that live in that neighborhood using. Matter of fact, the last time I went down there to see if they're being used, they're just zigzagging the street, walking. So, total waste of time, total waste of money. Maybe in 5-10 years, if a group buys up all of the houses and makes something different, maybe it turns into something different. But I don't think so. We're just not that group, and you're not going to get a bunch of ASU folks walking from ASU to downtown. Just ain't happening. It is not happening. We are a community that loves our vehicles, loves transportation, and it's just not happening. I have seen, and I'd like to talk to them, but I have seen this group that it's a group of young men. I say young men. I don't have a clue. These days, the older I get, the harder it is to distinguish ages. But I would say mid to late 20s, and they use their scooters that are electric, and they'll go to lunches in different areas. And I've seen them in a couple different places. But I don't know where they're coming from, but, there's 5 of them or so, and they'll drive these all over town, and they'll go to lunch. So that's kind of cool. Maybe that catches on. I don't know. And if it does, can we, they're not using those sidewalks, by the way. They're going down the street or using main roads. So anyways, this is why I get so aggravated when we talk about sidewalks. Is because they didn't do the purpose of what we were told they were going to do, 1, and 2, that just means we're just wasting money. We could be pouring all of that money into Craighead. Craighead is an oasis. Craighead is a place where people drive and then get out and do things like that. They exercise, and they take the time to go and experience the outdoors and exercise and walk and things like that. That's there. And I think we could make that a revenue source. I think that we could, somebody could put a coffee shop there, or somebody could put, an ice cream shop there, or somebody could put a juice place there, or whatever. And over time, that become a revenue source. I think that there's other things that we could do out there to make it a revenue source. And we should have been focusing and doing it that way, but we didn't. We've spent a lot of money on big, luscious sidewalks, and as far as I can tell, we're going to continue to spend more and more and more money on sidewalks. And if you think I'm wrong, please, please, please show me where I'm wrong, because I would love to be wrong. I really would love to be wrong. Like my buddy said at lunch the other day, he said, you're not wrong. And he wishes and wishes and wishes I was, but he knows I'm not wrong. And, I would love to be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times in my life. It doesn't bother me to be wrong. Just show me where I'm wrong. So we're spending an exorbitant amount of money. The other thing that I did while researching that is I researched when you do not maintain your roads. So low road maintenance causes tons and tons and tons of issues. And so this has been my argument. We're spending, millions of dollars on 20 to 30 plus miles of sidewalk, right? And we're doing very little roads, very, very, very little roads. And in the study, and some of you guys have heard this before, but bad roads in communities, the estimation of vehicle maintenance is somewhere around $2,500 when you have a city that's got really bad roads. And so I don't think that we're quite there yet, but we are heading that direction. And, you know, $2,500 per person that drives each and every day, extra maintenance on their car because of bad roads, that's huge. And this has been a study that has happened over and over again. It's been checked, and so that's concerning. One, two, it's a bad look. So people come into town, and we get told all the time that we had visitors and they just love our town and it's clean and blah 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 blah. So I get all of that, but drive around, and we've got potholes that have been there for a long time. We've got patches, and again, it's not the crews doing the patches. It's just sometimes you don't patch some of these things that they're patching, and they're just doing their job. But we've got patches that are too high, patches that are too low, that have settled. We spend a lot of time on that kind of stuff, and then I've been talking for over a year now, year and a half, about my old neighborhood, which is gravel. I mean, there's areas that are gravel, and we'll put some pictures in about this probably this week. But it's a bad deal, and when you do not maintain your roads at a level that we should be doing, it pulls the town down, and it doesn't allow us to have the growth. And it's one of the first things that is a downfall for cities, is low maintained roads. So there's some other things that I've been dealing with as far as looking into ways that we can better the city, and in ways that we aren't really doing that. If we had high maintained roads, our police department at a high level, we can do better for the men and women in blue. We really can. We can really make them the most elite force in Arkansas. We once were there, and I think that the men and women that serve us, that's what they want. They want to become the best of the best, and we should be doing that. And that's another way that you become a safe town, which you've heard me say, but you also become an economic booming town. When your police department is excelling in many, many ways, the town seems to follow, and that's the data, that's the research, and that's the numbers. You can't lie on the numbers. I don't care about when people come up and they say silly things. We heard numbers on sidewalks, but they didn't dive deep enough into finding out what makes these roads, sidewalks successful. They just took some data and said, oh, it makes us safer and connectivity and da-da-da-da-da. But you don't do the research on the town itself. And lots of towns have spent lots of money. Lots of towns have abandoned that because it's not working. It's not doing anything. And what is the economic drive to continue to do sidewalks? So if you're listening to this and you're from the city, you need to be asking that question. And you're going to get yelled at and, called all kinds of names probably, and you're a heathen for even bringing it up. But it's just the truth. And, we continue, on this podcast, we continue to talk about the police department. And some of my dearest friends are police officers or have been. And, I worry about them. I worry about their safety, and I worry about their ability to do their job at a high level. And I want them safe, and I want them to be the best of the best. And when you are that in a city, it shows, and lots of things happen. lots of great things happen when you're the best police department around. Tons and tons and tons and tons of good things happen. There's no negative when you're the best police department. We don't pay enough. we There's a lot of gaps that we need to do in order for our police department to get to the next level. And these are three things that I believe that we are doing either wrong or have been doing wrong for a long time. And I think that it is really it's going to show in time that it was either a big waste of time or I'm wrong. But most of the people that I talk to, especially the pro sidewalk people, they understand that I'm not wrong. The data doesn't lie, and I really hope that we make a change here real soon in the directions. I really hope that we change the focus on what really drives a great city. And we've got great people. I mean, I do agree with the mayor on that. Jonesboro has amazing people. We do. We have amazing business people. We have amazing kids. We have great. You guys hear me say it all the time. We're an unbelievable faith-based community, which has massive benefits. We should be exploiting those benefits, not acting like they don't exist. We do not work within those parameters, and we need to do better. We need to stop the direction we're going, reassess, and start going in a different direction, one that fits Jonesboro. And now that doesn't mean that we don't make strives to become a healthier community, but we don't spend millions and millions of dollars needlessly and not taking care of the other things that help us to be the best version of Jonesboro. And use the numbers, the real raw data numbers, to drive our economic engine of Jonesboro. And sometime something's going to happen and people are going to realize, and when that happens, and then we're going to do things different. But unfortunately, when you have something going on like we do right now, it takes something that's big to happen before people wake up and say, "Oh, wow, that was wrong," or "We didn't do it that way," or whatever. And we're having some of those little things that we see, but we're not moving in the right direction, and it's hard to watch. The biggest reason for this podcast is to just, hopefully people listen, and they are. I mean, you guys are, and I know that the city does, and I know that city councilmen listen, and I know that other people are listening. And the biggest reason for this is to make sure that our economic development is right for the city and is driven to that. I mean, we really need to be boosting up our factories. I listened to a thing from the city the other day talking about changing bus routes to service those communities, the factories and stuff. And one of the things that were said was, well, we got like 30 different shifts out there. So service one of them, service three of them. So, we look at it, we're like, oh, how do we possibly can't service 30 of them. So let's do nothing. I've been preaching about this for a year and a half. Put the bus routes out there so that our communities out there can get serviced as far as employment and things go. I mean, if something goes wrong with your car, we have a friend of ours from church, and her car broke down, and she can't get to work through the buses. Luckily she's getting rides and stuff, but it would be great for her if she had the ability to jump on a bus, but she doesn't. And I love public transportation, especially if it's used. I mean, it needs to be used and needs to make sure that the routes are meeting the needs of the people. But the main things is we've got to get people to where they can shop, they can buy food and the needs that they need, and get to work. That's the two major things. But I think we focus more on like getting people to downtown. You guys hear me say it all the time, but it's kind of the thing. And, one day we're going to have to take a look at all of the things that we're doing and really assess them and see what in the world was right and what was wrong, and then make the adjustments. I think we're waiting way too long. I mean, I've listened to the things that they're saying that are coming, and it's just more of the same. And it's fluff, it's just fluff. And I wish it wasn't, but it is. The good news is we have unbelievable business people here. We have unbelievable, intelligent minds that are going to persevere regardless of what's going on, and they're going to create and continue to move in a direction that does best meet the needs of Jonesboro, for sure. It just, as a city, we just need to make sure that we're helping those movements instead of ignoring them or hindering them. We don't hinder much. I mean, building codes and things like that, there's some things that we need to change for sure. But we do, for the most part. We may extend things and it takes a little bit longer, which is incredibly frustrating. But for the most part, we usually do assist and help in any way that boosts the economy, for sure. Other than we make people put in 6-foot sidewalks when there's not a sidewalk to the left or to the right of them, nor will there ever be. But we do have a couple places that have 6-foot sidewalks across their entire front and to nowhere. So that makes them do a lot of money and waste a lot of money. But guys, that's my take this week. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it sheds a little bit more light on the reasons why I talk heavily about, the trail system and things like that. I do believe that there's some need for some sort of trail system. I just believe that we need to make sure that we're doing it right, and we're doing it in the right places. We need to stop wherever we're at and take it from Craighead to down Culver House to these neighborhoods that are there that can use these things, and start wisely doing these things. But we need to focus on our roads. We need to stop and we need to turn and focus on our roads. And we need to stop and turn and focus on our police department and other things that are going on within our town. We need more jobs. There's a litany of things that we've got. I do want, so in December, I'm hoping to do an episode where we shine a light on a lot of different businesses that are local. I've said this before, and I apologize for not getting this done, but we do have some locally owned businesses that do great work for Jonesboro, and we want to do some shining the light on some of those, and so that'll hopefully be coming in December. So if not, in January. But guys, truly have a wonderful Thanksgiving. It is a time to really connect with people and be mindful of those that maybe are struggling. And, if you have the ability to grab a turkey and drop one off, I encourage you to do that. And that's what really builds a community is the work going on. And want to give a shout out to a couple of other people. I mean, the work that the food bank has done in the last couple of weeks, they've really pulled themselves together to provide a lot of stuff for our needy in Jonesboro, and everybody involved with that needs to be patted on the back and given a hug and did a wonderful job. I'm truly appreciative for all of those hardworking men and women that really took their time and effort this year to go above and beyond, and good job. So there's some other things out there, the people that are doing some wonderful things, and to you guys, I'm incredibly thankful. Have a great week. We will see you next week. God bless and take care.